If we get in one of these exponential bubbles in 2025, and I see that we may get into one, right? There are a lot of elements for us to get into one. Trump getting elected, the adoption of a Bitcoin standard, the change in the SEC, Dubai starting to stack Bitcoin. There could be a number of catalysts that really bring us into like a full-blown just mania trend like we had in 2017. And if we do get into that, I don't think math tells us really, we're going to stop at 200,000 or 250,000 or 300,000. We might go to 500,000. Now, I do think the math tells us with the power law, kind of 500,000 would be kind of the top in the next couple of years.
According to prominent Bitcoin analyst Fred Kreuger, the next Bitcoin bull market could be unlike anything seen before, with the potential to drive the price as high as $500,000. Krueger points to a variety of factors that could come into play by 2025, including the possible re-election of Donald Trump, widespread adoption of Bitcoin, evolving regulatory approaches, Dubai's expanding role in the cryptocurrency space, and the potential move towards a Bitcoin standard. If these dynamics align, they could ignite a surge of investor excitement and speculative buying, sending Bitcoin soaring. Make sure to watch to the rest of this video where Fred Kreuger discusses whether he thinks another Bitcoin bubble is on the way, and if there is the likelihood of a sharp drawdown afterwards. Also, if you enjoy listening to crypto-related content, please show your support by liking and subscribing to this channel by following the link in my bio. And get access to my free daily crypto updates and expert predictions direct to your inbox. Each newsletter contains market intelligence, on-chain data and latest updates from experts in the crypto space. All of this is available completely free of charge. Signing up only takes a moment and you can always change your mind later on. Now back over to Fred Kreuger.
So we have this phenomena of halvings happening every 4 years, and the bear markets happening every, let's call it 12 to 16 months afterwards, right? So I think if you're going to just continue this logic, you would say, well, the fourth halving started in April of 2024, and so the bear market should start 16 months later. That would put us in sort of August of 2025, just keeping exactly with that timing. And I think a lot of people in Bitcoin are just obsessed with this for a lot of different reasons. And I think we really need to back down sort of the analysis here, because we can easily just get spooked with these three events. The halvings are programmed, so they're every 4 years. And people sort of think, well, maybe the bear market is programmed right after the halving as well. And so I think there's two fundamental questions, and I posted these in a Twitter tweet. The first question is, do we believe that the halvings are the creator of the bull markets? Do we believe that they are the fundamental reason that the bull markets are created? They have this amazing power of creating these bull markets. And second, do we believe that this bull market, like the last three, will end very quickly? So let's take these questions independently. Now, the first question is the halving. Are the halvings important? Well, I would argue the first halving and the second halving were very significant, right? Because they were an enormous amount of supply was reduced, and especially with the first halving, there wasn't an enormous market before the first halving, the more enormous secondary market for Bitcoin. So this is really how Bitcoin was produced. And so when we had this massive supply shock, it made an enormous difference. If you go now to 2028, there's going to be a supply shock, and I use the word supply shock in air quotes, of going from 450 Bitcoin to 225 Bitcoin. Now, perhaps the price of Bitcoin will be a lot higher. At this point, 95% of the Bitcoin has been mined, and I think the impact of this supply shock of halving will not be as big. So it's just not clear that the next halving will create another bull market in the same sense. And I think what will create it is much more likely just liquidity and financial adoption by TradFi, right? And I'm not even sure of that, right? So what I'm trying to say here is that the mechanism of bull market is created by having not so clear, right? Now, what about the sort of the length of the bull market, right? Well, I think what happens in these bull markets, and we've had three of them, it's not an enormous amount of data, right? We have 3 bull markets, is that we have a very unsustainable exponential rise. And it really is exponential. And I think Giovanni's pointed this out very well. It's going up by 1% per day. And it's this sort of exponential thing. The bubble will pop. You know it's going to pop, and it does pop. The problem is you just don't know when it's going to pop. But if you get into this kind of hyper-frenzied vertical movement like we've had in 2017, you know it will pop. You just don't know when. And unfortunately, the power law, I don't think, tells you really that much about when it's going to pop, because we still haven't had enough bubbles, and I think they're just notoriously hard to time, in my opinion. And I'm not sure the math does that much of good in terms of when bubbles will pop. And I think that's true with Bitcoin. I think that's true with smoking chicken fish or Nvidia. I don't know. There's a lot of bubbles that happen, and you know they're a bubble, but you just can't tell when they're going to pop. And I think if we get in one of these exponential bubbles in 2025, and I see that we may get into one, right? There are a lot of elements for us to get into one. Trump getting elected, the adoption of a Bitcoin standard, the change in the SEC, Dubai starting to stack Bitcoin. There could be a number of catalysts that really bring us into like a full-blown just mania trend like we had in 2017. And if we do get into that, I don't think math tells us really, we're going to stop at 200,000 or 250,000 or 300,000. We might go to 500,000. Now, I do think the math tells us with the power law, the kind of 500,000 would be kind of the top in the next couple of years. Why? Because 500,000 would be kind of 2 times trend line, and we've never seen any of the previous bubbles go beyond 2 times trend line. It just doesn't seem likely. And it does seem that, if anything, the percentage to trend line seems to be diminishing. So I would say 500,000 would be a high. It's still within the power law. It's not like all our models are going to be broken because you hit 500,000, but it could happen, right? And if it happens, when it breaks, I do suspect that just like any bubble, we will revert back down through the trend line, and we will stabilize at something like 1 standard deviation down below. And that would be just extremely painful. That would be a 75% retracement from the high. It's going to be brutal.
Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe for news and expert predictions direct to your inbox.